not everyone stumbles across their passion right away. I've heard stories of people on NPR that didn't get it till they were 40. Not saying that you have to wait till then.
Yeah.
But don't put pressure. Surround yourself with people that care about you. And just explore, be forever curious. The reason I found out about my favorite medium of art is because I was just scrolling on Instagram and saw someone else do it, you know? And I think if you're just constantly exploring and then trying new things, you will find something that clicks and you will find something that you really like. But just don't be afraid to try something and have it fail. Even if that means taking a job that you don't know if you're going to like or not. And then you might hate it, but at least you learn something from it, you know? So just keep trying different things. And sometimes it can be hard, especially if, you know, at our age, people expect us to figure it out, but just keep going.
Purpose in the youth. Purpose in the youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Today in the studio, Kim Rose. What's up?
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
You get the high energy ready with that beautiful rain in LA today?
Oh yeah, definitely.
People are going crazy probably right now with it.
Yeah.
Trying to adjust that mic.
It was a little
scary. A little scary driving here.
It was all right. Yeah, just because some areas it flooded a little bit, but that's all right.
And people go nuts out here. Just a little ounce of rain.
Yeah,
and people
we can't
are like
drive.
shutting it down.
Yeah.
They want to stay inside all day, or they're going crazy on the highway and causing a lot of accidents.
Oh yeah.
It's a pain in the ass. So looking through some of your art, it's pretty fantastic.
Thank you.
I've never been somebody that can draw. I can't paint to save my life. I was never good at that growing up, but I've always had respect for people that can kind of really figure out that craft and get great at it, you know? When somebody's coming across Kim Rose art, like, what do you want people to feel, or what should they expect to feel when they are seeing some of your work?
I like that. I like that you said, what should they feel? Because I think, you know, with any page or with any art form, whatever you're doing, you have the ability to make people, you know, think something or feel a certain type of way. And I know it sounds weird. It might not exactly be tied into the art, but I want them to feel inspired in a positive way, motivated, I think, which I think was really cool. I saw a lot of your stuff. They had like those like fun quotes and stuff, just like kind of like get shit done, stuff like that. I like that. That's what I want people to feel when they see it. You know?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's like, no matter what it is that you are doing, I feel like you kind of want people to feel some type of way, and it can range for a lot of different things. For me, it's like I want people to feel energy, I want them to feel positivity, I want them to understand there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like, that's kind of my whole brand and what I want to create. But it's also something that you could do even just through visuals, you know, like there's something that people might see in your art that pulls them or just gives them some positivity. I don't know, but it's definitely unique, and I'm very interested in, we'll get into in a little bit, kind of deep diving into how you've gotten to that point. But talk to me about growing up in Rancho Santa Margarita. Is that how you pronounce it?
How'd you find that? Was that on my LinkedIn or what?
I did some research.
What the heck?
I did some research, right? We got a lot of things, so get ready.
That's funny.
I got a lot of things. That's it. So that's in the OC, huh?
Yeah, it's in Orange County.
What's this place like for you growing up?
So it's really nice. It's a really cute little spot. It's just like a family town. So there's a lot of, you know, cute houses. If you throw a stone, you'll hit a park with like a little pool. So we had 3 different ones that we could walk to growing up. Okay. And just kind of lived in that whole area. It was funny because at one point we did move, but we just moved less than a mile away because we liked the area. So just
move.
Like different. I know, right? We were like, goodbye, friends. And then we're like, I'll see. Like,
we're going down the road. Like, do you want me to carry this for you?
Literally like down the hill and back up the hill.
But a big change, right?
Yeah, a big change, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, we really like the area. I went to a private school in Tustin, so that was like a 30-ish minute drive away. And
did you live there, or did you just commute? Obviously,
we just commuted, and so there was like us. We carpooled. There were like 2 other families with kids in the area, and so we would all just like carpool, go up over there, and that was like it was like a 2-3 days a week
Yeah.
type thing, and then we would be like homeschooled the rest of it.
Ooh,
so it was
a little
fun
homeschool.
Oh, for sure, homeschooled. Yeah, they're like
Damn.
it pretty much was homeschool. Like
Yeah.
we got to stay home and go to Disneyland, to the movies and stuff like that. It was great. It was really fun.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
we have your sister in here today.
Yeah.
Was it just you two growing up? Was there another brother? Was there another sister?
Nah, it's just us two.
Just you two?
Yeah, so we got to have all the fun.
Oh, we got to have all the fun.
Oh yeah.
I had read online that when you were younger, your mother would encourage you to let your imagination run wild.
Yeah.
How has that helped you become who you are today?
It's like helped everything that I've become today, because it was just, especially as a child, if you can play, there's so much that goes on, more than just, you can go into studies of the brain or how it just affects a child's confidence, different things like that. When you're playing with paint as a child, or with things like clay or even dirt, it helps you, and it helps boost that creativity. So yeah, so early on, I would just, like make a mess on the kitchen table and just like play with that. Or like I just had different phases of trying different types of art. Like and my sister can attest, I had a weird phase where I was making like little clay dolls.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
They were weird. They were really weird. We were looking back at some of them, and I was like, we can toss these. And my dad was like, thank God. He's
Get
like,
them outta here.
these are a little creepy. But any type of art, I probably experimented with it, So
Yeah.
like painting, drawing, claymation, even acting classes, if you could think of that
That's
as an
definitely
art
that's
form.
like an art form.
It is. It really is. And it was fun, just different ways of expressing yourself. So
Yeah.
definitely that was woven in early on.
Yeah. Do you remember like what age you started to do like the painting aspect, or like the real creativity, or is that?
I think forever.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm trying to pinpoint a start, and obviously it would never be like, I don't want to say like professional, but I didn't think that I could make it into something. It was always just pure enjoyment, even going to college, which we can get into, but it was just a fun safe spot to play around.
But yeah, I think that's what ends up, the funny thing is the people that can find a way to make it work, it ends up being the thing that they enjoyed, because you're not making money as a kid doing it, but you just love it so much, so you're just continually putting time and energy into it. And with time, you obviously master the craft and you get better, and you create what you're creating today, which we'll get into. But I think that's the important thing, is like, it starts off as just a passion project or something that you enjoy doing. Yeah. And then with time, eventually you turn into a full running business. But at the time, you're not 10 years old going,
you're not
I'm going to be the biggest artist in the world. I'm going to make some crazy paintings.
You're just having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that also growing up, you guys would go on these Mexico mission trips with your church and family, where you guys would go to Mexico, build houses, supply basic medical necessities, bring games for the kids. How did going down there change your perspective of the world?
It was really cool, because it showed me very early on, especially in the area that I grew up in Orange County, or just even in California in general, you can kind of grow up in a little bit of a bubble where you just think that not necessarily like everything works out, because life happens, but especially as a kid, you're just like, everything's great. I have everything that I need. I have food. Yeah. I have clothing. I have a TV. You just think your normal kid thoughts, and then if you are kind of taken out of that environment and then put into a different one that's actually so close, because we're right across the border, it's not that far.
No, not at all.
It's just a drive. You can make a day trip of it, and it's just so different. So especially being shown that as a kid, it kind of like helps put things into perspective, and make you realize that not everyone grew up the same way that you did. And
your mother was originally from Mexico, so was she doing it because she wanted to show you guys kind of where she came from, or was she already going back before you were even born?
That's actually an interesting question, because she didn't grow up in Tijuana, Mexico. So the area that we go to, and the area that I try to fundraise for, is in Tijuana. It's very close, and there tends to be a lot more poverty in the area. Where she grew up, it was in Monterey, and so that's definitely, it's like a plane ride away, kind of closer to Texas.
You can't just drive there.
So you can't just drive there. It's definitely a plane ride away type thing. So it's not like she was trying to show me exactly where she grew up, but I think just to let us know, first off, to give back, to understand the importance of, you know, you've been given a certain type of lifestyle and you have the opportunity to help other people.
Yeah.
You should take advantage of that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just to show the culture, the principle of helping other people.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I mean, it's crazy now living in LA, and I definitely see, well, just knowing how close I am to the border. It's kind of like crazy in a sense, because I grew up in Massachusetts, so I'm up in the Northeast. I'm not even close. I mean, we're next to the Canadian. We're next to the Canadian border, but that's like brother and sister. You know, there's not much of a big deal. But then you move out to LA, and then you really start to realize how close you are to the border, and then how many issues stem. Yeah. And you can definitely see the culture difference too out here, which I think is amazing, because it's opened my eyes to just what else this world has to offer. But just being so close. But I guess what I'm trying to say is even just thinking about what it must have been like at a young age to have to go over there and see these things. You come back to LA, you come back to your life, and maybe you don't realize it, but you start to look at everything differently, because you picture like, well, they didn't have food, they didn't have a house to sleep in, or you start to look at your things and actual items differently.
Yeah, and it made me more grateful too, I think, because as a kid I could have any, I'm just remembering, you know, as a kid you see a toy, you like it, you get it type thing, and that's not always the case. I think it made me appreciate a lot more, but it also, not to say that like we have everything and they don't. They have so much joy that I don't see here. Yeah. And it's like a very interesting disconnect, I think, that sometimes people will associate, which I could go on and on about. Yeah. But it's like there's so much joy, you know, and people don't always expect that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like even the people here, call it LA, that have a lot of things might not be as happy as that person that lives in Mexico that has literally nothing. But, you know, it is interesting to show you that you hear people preach of like material items isn't the true key to happiness, but
it's like living proof that it's not. Yeah,
you literally, then you see these people that are just happy to be alive and just happy to have a place to sleep. I don't know. It opens your eyes to just like, man, it's all perspective, and sometimes I think things are the key to happiness, and it really never is. Fast forward, you end up going to Azusa Pacific University. You're a you were a business management major with a fine arts minor. What was your game plan going into college?
So I think my game plan going into college was like a lot of kids going into college, wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do.
Right there with you. Woo! Right there with you. Big question mark. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to have a good time for 4 years.
You're like, there's so many things, especially like as a freshman going into it. A lot of times you're like, well,
no stress.
I'm gonna make friends. Like, I don't know what I'm doing and stuff like that. And so, definitely wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. But I did the thing that I think a lot of people will do when they don't know what they want to do, and they'll just go into business. And so I actually really did enjoy math, and I liked it a lot. I knew I didn't want to make that my thing. And so I thought, well, business kind of takes some elements of math.
100%.
And so that's something I was like, okay, well, I'm good at. I can do that. And then I minored in art because it was something that would be fun for me, you know, like you would get your business, you'd get to have some fun art classes and things like that. And I think even at one point I was like, I want to be an art major. And my dad, he's an engineer. He was like, I'm not paying for that. So have fun. And I was like, I'm going to be an art minor. Like, I'm not going to do that.
You still going to pay for that? Okay, yeah.
I was like, can we do this? And I think it was one of those, even at first he was like, maybe not. But my mom was like, God damn, just like, let her do her thing. Let her do her thing. Yeah, like it's fine.
So
like,
were you still doing your art heavily while you were in school, even though you had to take business classes and you might have minored it? Were you still heavily doing creative stuff outside of the classroom?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I think there's a lot of talking about different forms of creativity. I also loved, I think I was really heavily into, because I remember I would like Sharpie and henna up the whole hall. I was really into line drawings, things like that.
Well, you
like
could see
drawing.
You could see in your work now, that minimalist.
Yeah, like minimalist. I didn't even know, because I think I've grown more into the minimalist style. And before I even knew that it had a word, I just I loved it.
You just like the
very
simplicity of it.
Simplicity, even with like color palette, things like that. I just kind of discovered that. But more freshman year, it was, I loved editing pictures. That I think is an art form that people might not necessarily think is
Definitely
art.
an art
I think
form.
it is. Yeah. Because
100%.
there's so much that goes into it and behind it and things like that. So I think I did a lot of that. And then back in the time, I was getting a lot of like tattoo design commissions and stuff like that. So those were my main things.
So you were hustling
early on, kind of.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, but you're just following what you enjoyed doing.
Yeah, I was just kind of going with the flow. But still, I think there's a difference between just going with the flow and then also kind of pushing yourself at the same time. Because at that time, you know, I wanted to make sure that I was practicing my art and then doing these other stuff and then trying to make friends along the way.
Yeah, trying to juggle everything in one time.
Yeah.
What do you think changed the most about you within that 4 years?
Oh my gosh, everything. I think everything changed in those 4 years. It's one of the things that I think people will have different opinions on college. And then I think everyone has their own path, and sometimes it works out for people great and sometimes it doesn't. But I think it just changed. It grew me, you know, as a character. And luckily my university was smaller, so they were very heavy into, you know, like character development and like trait development and stuff like that. But what's actually funny is I didn't love the school. I almost left the second year. I wanted to go to Pepperdine, which is
Wanted to go to the Malibu, sit at the beach all day.
Exactly. And what's funny is that whole thing was crazy because so our school's pretty expensive, and I was lucky enough to get like a scholarship on one of their scholarship programs. But Pepperdine is so expensive, and they don't really give as much.
You're
they're like, we're going to hook you up with a nice thing, and they're like, here's $2,000 of like a $70,000 school.
Write us a check, please, and thank you.
Yeah,
it's so expensive.
Oh yeah.
How close were you to were you like about to apply?
I applied. I was accepted. Me and my dad actually went to the admitted students where we like went on lunch. We met with some of the professors, and it was just this kind of disadvantaged thing where I was very excited for it, and then we saw the numbers of it, of how much it was going to cost, and I had to think,
is this really worth it?
Well, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even put my finger on what I wanted from the school. I just think I wanted to get out. So instead of switching schools, I actually just ended up studying abroad. Our school had at the time like a High Sierra program where you can study abroad in the woods in the Sierra Mountains.
Ooh,
yeah, that was an experience.
So at least it gave you a chance to get away from the school to then come back.
It gave me what I needed. Yeah, just like a little break from everything, and then I was able to come back. And I think the later years were actually my favorite years, which was really, really nice.
Yeah, and that's usually tends to be the scarier years too, because that freshman, sophomore year is this huge, I'm enjoying college, I'm having fun. Junior year, I think was my favorite year because it was like, you have everything kind of figured out, but you're not about to graduate. And then senior ends up being this huge game of like, what am I doing next? Oh, you're doing that. Where are you going? That was just the big.
But I think oftentimes there's also so much pressure because especially when you're in your school bubble, you think, oh, well, such and such is doing this and that after graduation. What am I doing? And you get a little panicked and you feel like you need to figure it out. And what I've seen, like 2 years after, not even
When did you graduate,
long.
2016?
16, 7, yeah.
16?
2 years, yeah.
16, 7.
I can't do math now. I can't do it on the spot.
What?
Help.
I graduated 2016. 17?
Max is,
Good thing you got your team. Good thing you got your team here to double check with you.
What was it?
So 2 years then, huh?
Yeah.
But during your senior, I think was important because you had that. It was a internship at a media marketing company in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
So what about that internship gave you the confidence that you could build your own business? I feel like that was at least what I read, it seemed like that was a inspiration for you to double down on like Kim Rose Art as a brand on Instagram. How important was that internship for you?
Yeah, so it was actually, and it's funny because I remember it was like a 2-hour metro ride, and I would wake up super early, and I'm not a morning person. So that for me was just really
what am I doing?
me really figuring out if this was something, because the whole thing for me at the time, it was Instagram and media marketing. And my whole question at the time, okay, so you have a bit of a following. That's where I get most of my orders from, and most of anything comes straight from social media.
Amazing.
And I wanted to know if it was something that was sustainable. Like, should I invest into it? Is this going to be the future of marketing, or is this something that's going to come and going to go down?
Yeah.
And I got exactly what I needed working at that company, just knowing, no, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, this is actually the future of marketing. Big brands are starting to recognize it. You get a big bang for your buck and things like that, more targeted and things like that. So it was a good eye-opening experience to let me know, okay, like, social media is something that is good to invest into, especially as someone that, if you're wanting your own brand or anything like that.
Did you take the internship with intention to kind of figure this out for yourself, or did it just
110%?
So you used the internship.
I did. Yeah. And I think
Smart.
but it was transparent.
Yeah.
It was very like, and it's funny because I even sat with the CEO after, and I was telling him about my art business and about what I do, and he goes, "Wow, this is incredible. I didn't know you did this." And I was like, "You brought me on. Like, you hired me.
You should maybe look into my."
I was like, "How did you not know this?" And he goes, "But it's really cool." So
Wow.
It was really funny. But yeah, I think I was always very transparent that, like, I'm here to learn, and I really want to learn about this. I think that's something that anyone that's going to be successful in anything, you need to be willing to learn, and like learn a lot.
Yeah, no, and like go the extra length to maybe take an internship to get into that world and see firsthand, like, oh, these influencers are getting paid tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
What's stopping me from creating something that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? How were you initially getting traction to your account? What was that initially stemming from?
It was art, honestly.
Just so you just were posting a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, because I remember this was when Instagram was still kind of foreign to me, but I thought, I wish I had a platform that I could put all my art on, because I had these papers that were everywhere, and at the time things weren't really digital. They were just very much like notebooks and very unorganized for me. And I said, well, I can take pictures and I can post them on Instagram.
Yeah.
And so then how I started doing the whole tattoo thing is, in high school, a teacher said, "I know that you draw, like, can you draw me a tattoo design?"
Whoa.
And I was like, well, I'm going to post that. And it said something like, "This is a tattoo design." And I loved it. And then I had a few other people asking, and I was like, well, can you design my tattoo? And
wow.
Can you? And at the time, I didn't know how to value myself as an artist. I don't even know. I probably charged like a shameful
you're just starting
little
off.
amount of just
course.
like, I don't know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, I'll design your very exquisite tattoo for like $10. Sure. Like, I would do, in my head, I was like, I'll do it anyway.
Yeah. But it's a good, at least that was a starting point of like, somebody's interested in what I have.
Definitely. It got the ball rolling for sure. Yeah, definitely.
How has that journey been for you to finding this style, like of what you are creating today?
It was hard. So are you talking about the style of just, I guess, my aesthetic as a brand, or my art style now?
I guess your art style, both like the way you draw, that minimalism, and then also, I don't even know how to describe like the pieces that you create. Like, what's the best way to describe?
Just like
granite,
marble, abstract fine art. When people ask me, I'll just say abstract fine art.
Yeah.
That has this marble-ish look, because it's very polished on top.
So how has it been finding you?
So I think I was first, so the material that I use is called resin. And resin's actually, it's like a 2-part chemical mix, and people use it for tabletops, inside violins. People use it for jewelry. It's used for a lot of different things that people don't really realize. It's pretty cool. Okay. And so it's very toxic, and there's different types of resin. So our senior class, my senior art class, it was basically just a class of like 6 kids. And the professor was like, "You're big kids now. You can do what you want." But every week we meet and we just critique each other, which is, our critiques are so weird, because even one of the kids in that class, he is now one of my housemates, and we would just like make fun of
Next.
I would make fun of this, but sometimes just a common phrase said was, "I love it, but I hate it."
Yeah.
And it was just like, it's so much of like tearing up and tearing down. And that's just like kind of what art is. You have to be confident in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Take take what other people's input is and either learn from it or disregard it, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was when I first started using resin. And I remember the first time I used it, Max was there too. It was the wrong type of resin.
Okay.
So this was resin that's used for surfboards, and it's very toxic. And
You're using like a mask, I'm assuming, or no?
So at the time, I didn't even know that you're supposed to wear a respirator.
That's like the mask type
So there's
thing?
two different types. So there's like the sawdust mask that like you'll see a lot of people, like if you're a carpenter, it'll stop dust from flying in.
Gotcha.
But that we were wearing those, that wasn't doing anything for our lungs, because I mean a couple times you're fine, you know,
but
it's
if you
whatever.
do this over a long period of time,
if you do it
big
consistently, you could run into some problems. But at the time, so I was using the wrong resin, and then it didn't cure, and I thought, well, I'll just leave, because I saw YouTube tutorials. I thought I knew what I was doing. Yeah, I was like, I know what I'm doing. I Googled it twice. And so it ended up, I left it in my studio, and it ended up stinking up the entire area with like hundreds of different students' studios.
Oh, wow.
And I went into my studio the next day, and I remember my professor just came in and he's like, so we moved your painting into basically like a confined air ventilated area and like on the other side of campus.
Because it's literally
it
causing
that bad. And it was funny because my now housemate at the time, Evan, he comes in and he goes, Kim, you won't believe it, someone stunk up this whole place. And I go, Evan, it was me. And he goes, you bitch. She goes, why would you do this to us? He's like, you're the one that did that. I was like, yeah,
I didn't know it was gonna happen.
I didn't know. So definitely everything that can go wrong did go wrong. Max has seen me more panicked than I've ever been one of the first few times. So to cure the resin properly, you need to use a torch, so fire to, take out the bubbles to make it that perfect glass look. And I just remember I had a torch, but the lighter wasn't working. But we'd already poured the resin, so it's like the timer was going. You have maybe like 40 minutes to play with the resin before it goes bad.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I just freaked out, didn't know what to do, because I made like maybe like 3 big pieces and thought they were just all gonna go to waste. And luckily someone popped their head out in the studio and she's like, oh, actually we have a lighter over here.
Wow.
Like, you can use it.
Saved
but
you.
just like, anything that can go wrong probably has. But you learn from it, you know. And then I don't know why I stuck with it, but I think I liked it.
Yeah, clearly. I hope so. I hope you liked it if you stuck with it this long.
Yeah.
I mean, what separates, I know you said you described this as fine art.
Yeah.
Right? So what separates it from just being a regular piece of art to fine art?
That's a great question.
What is that separation?
And this is something that's fun. So I told a lot of my interns too, because they asked the exact same question. They're like, what is that? And honestly, there's a lot of different elements that will go into it. It can be your schooling, it can be your medium, it can be your story, it can be whatever. But honestly, I think it's just when you, as an artist, draw the line and you're like, this is fine art. And then you set your price point higher. Like only you as the artist can really make the decision of like, okay, this is what it means, and then people will either respect that or they won't. Because you've seen there's art out there that it's just like a pile of dust.
Yeah.
And it's like $10 million.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's just like
Yeah.
people either get it or they don't. And I think that's one of the things it's cool to see as a business major and having a business mindset, and how, okay, certain things work a certain way in the business world, and then art is just kind of this wild card where it's just like the Wild West. It's really whatever you make of it.
Yeah, it makes sense. So it's really coming down to the artist of, I guess building a brand, right? Like building something so reputable, your name, that people want to pay lots of money for that piece.
Exactly.
And so it's like, I'm putting a stake in the ground, calling myself fine art, because I've put in the work. I've created so much that now this is the moment where I want this to be known as.
And there's different ways to create that demand. You can create it in rarity. You can create it, and there's just a lot of different things, you know, that can go into it. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way necessarily to go about it. And it's also, speaking for art, it's just so, there's no one set path how to do it. You can study 10 different artists and they all went a very different way about it, you know? So it's just keep chugging at it. Any creative or artist, they probably already know there's not a set path.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to keep going and then learn as you go.
Yeah. And then you finally end up at like your own style or your own kind of work.
That's probably one of the hardest things too, is just to develop your own style, because every different type of art form, it's very easy for artists to copy, and it's almost scary how easy it is. And how I'll told, because one of my interns, she's a very creative, wonderful person, and she said, how do you get inspiration but not copy? And my method is, you'll pull pictures online, and you get so inspired, and you'll save different boards or mood boards or things like that, and then you just don't look at it. You look away, you kind of dwell on it, and especially even if you sleep on it, then you can kind of start to develop your own style or voice or anything like that. But it definitely takes a lot of time and practice to develop your own style, and it's always changing. My style is consistently changing.
Yeah.
You know? It's never going to be the same.
Well, always. It has to be always ever changing, right? Like, that's what keeps it interesting. That's what helps you develop.
Exactly.
Do you find that that you are, like, do you need, going back to the inspiration, do you need inspiration to create, or are you forcing yourself to sit down and grab the pen and pencil or paintbrush and just start creating?
That's interesting, because I think before, which we can get into later, before the event, I was very much just like, inspiration will come to me. And I think a big helper for me is music, honestly. I think I need to have it. It's, for me, everyone has their thing. And then I'll also weirdly get good ideas in the gym, which I actually looked up later. People who are fit are actually more creative, which is interesting.
So you're saying you're fit?
Well, no, I'm not saying.
No, I'm just
I kind of work out. I'm trying.
No, I would believe that. I was actually talking to somebody last night of just how I think that people that maintain a healthy lifestyle, whether it's working out religiously or eating the right foods, I think it's like fuel for your body.
Yeah.
So you have higher energy, you're more awake. I do believe that I bet you there should be some real good research if it's not already out, of just people that eat healthy and feed themselves the right stuff and work out religiously. I think you just end up, your mind is stimulating so much differently than somebody who's eating pizza and bread and drinking beer all day long.
Yeah, because you're taking care of yourself. And I think, there's no right or wrong way, because I know some artists that just don't take care of themselves, but they're still very, like, almost genius creative. So I think in general that's true. But for me personally, I know I do get big inspirations weirdly in the gym, and then also from music. And it could be paired, because I'm listening to music when I'm at the gym. So those might just be tied together, you know? But yeah.
when I know you do custom orders from time to time if somebody wants it. So when somebody contacts you and says, like, I want to have a custom order or whatever, what's that creative process like, from having that first point of contact with them to finally actually executing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think I learned a lot about how to do this on a big scale from little scale tattoo designs. Because something little like that, someone could say something and mean something, and then you interpret that a certain way, and then you bring them back something and it's not at all what they envisioned, and they hate it. And then you feel discouraged because you think that you wasted time. And it goes anything, that same principle, there needs to be communication between, the customer and the person creating whatever it is, even with pictures. So even we'll shoot pictures for clients. There needs to be a very clear communication line. And you need to ask a lot of questions as the person that is providing the service. So with tattoos, what I learned is, I said, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a placement sketch for you. And this is just going to be a general idea of what I think will look good. And I send that to them. And then when they say that's okay, then I'll finish it out, you know? And so kind of taking that same principle for, especially with something so large as fine art, where there's a lot of money that goes into it. There's a lot of time that goes into it.
Yeah.
I'll do like free consultations. If someone knows where they want it to go, send me a picture of the room. I'll tell you what I recommend. We'll speak with what you like. We'll talk about the colors that you like. It'll be a conversation. Sometimes people know what they want, and then sometimes people don't, and they just want you to do your own thing, which is almost scarier. Because
you have so much freedom that you don't know if they're
going to
like it.
What if they hate it?
Yeah. Then
it's a scary moment. It definitely is. And I think I don't want to say but I think a lot of artists will have self-doubt in that way. They'll be like, what if they hate it?
Yeah.
And it's the scariest thing, like right before you give someone their something, or even as a photographer, you send them because I've held my breath before with like a new client sending pictures and just being like, are they gonna like it?
Yeah.
Are they gonna
You don't
hate
know.
it?
You don't
You
know.
just don't know,
don't
you know? And even if they do hate it, you just learn from it, and you make sure. I have this rule where I want to make sure that every person that I work with is happy. They need to feel that so even if that means like redoing something again and again, I want to make sure that they're happy at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, you want them to come back and you want them to be satisfied with the final product.
Exactly. So it's very much a conversation, especially with the fine art pieces, on what do you like, think of colors, you know, we can look at pictures of things I've done before and pull from that, you know?
Yeah, so it's just, I guess it's just a learning process of seeing what works for clients and kind of what doesn't.
Yeah.
How do you, I know you mentioned there's a lot of time and money that goes into assessing that. The money aspect, how are you assessing what the final price is on something? Because obviously there's material costs, there's time put into a product, to the actual project, there's a uniqueness, it's a one of a kind. How do you assess that?
Yeah, so I think, because it's hard, because when I first started, I definitely price pointed lower, and I respected doing that because lower, I mean like littler pieces for like $300 because I was learning in the process. I was trying new things, I was learning from it, and so I ended up being able to provide a nice product, but it was still a way lower price point than what the fine art should be, you know? Yeah. And so I just basically what we did, and even me and my assistant now, we will look at other artists that are very similar. You look at other people that are very similar. There's no one that's going to be exactly the same as you, but you look at other artists that, okay, so they have fine art pieces, either like a similar medium or a similar price point. They have a similar, either like following is not even the best one, because sometimes people can have a lot of followers but not sell well, or vice versa, because I've seen very small artists but they're famous, they're on celebrities, you know. So you just kind of have to gauge where they're at in their career, and then where you're at in your career, and look at the market and then say, okay, well, we're going to be somewhere in the market. So that's definitely what we did. We looked at other artists that I felt were around the same spot in their career as I am, and just kind of gauge what's their cost per square inch, you know?
Damn.
And so, and this is something that I think a lot of artists can be afraid of. Excel sheets. They're the best thing on the face of the planet.
Nobody likes Excel sheets.
I
Nobody
love Excel sheets.
Nobody.
I think it can be exciting when you realize you're getting something from it. And especially like when we were putting on the event, we used Excel sheets in Google because we could work together even far apart. But if you realize like what it can do for you, they're actually very exciting, because you'll see, like, I'll get excited about the numbers. I'll be like, wow, they're charging this much, you know?
Yeah.
And so and obviously people from across the world, you know, you have to convert inches to centimeters to
God.
whatever.
Yeah, you got to be ready to convert
it has to be unison. It needs to be the same. But it's not hard, you know. It's not something that's scary. But so we calculated, you know, their square inch cost, and then from there picked my area. So what I do, so if a client were to approach me, if you were to say, okay, I want a piece, I would say, okay.
If I wanted to, let's use this as an example.
Yeah, okay, so for example, a good one, because more often than not, people will DM me on Instagram, and I think it's just a lot more professional, and you can also gauge their interest if you're like, thank you so much for reaching out, what's your email, or can you email me, because I like everything to be on email. It's a lot more, you can send
still more
business.
It's
more business, it's more official, also you're more protected if something were to go wrong. That's another thing, like, things have gone wrong, write a contract for everything, or get the money up front. I've had people run away with stuff before, and it's just terrible, but it's a learning lesson. Luckily, you learned it on something small so that it doesn't happen in something big. But now I'll ask for a certain percentage up front.
What's that usually, like 25, 50%?
Right now it's 30.
Okay.
And so it's always a learning, the work in progress, but we're seeing like where people are. You know, before with the smaller pieces, it was 50 because it really wasn't that much money, you know? And so now it's at 30%. And basically, I'll have like small, medium, and large sizes. So the large ones are the ones, I'm not sure if you saw the pictures, but the ones that are like as big as I am. Yeah. So those big ones. So those range depending on how custom or not. But like 5,000 is kind of like a general price range. Yeah. But we're feeling it out. Like technically, they should be more, but we're working on it.
You know, you got to start somewhere.
Exactly. And so what's really cool is for big price point items like that, Instagram might not be the best for selling it, but what is good is getting stuff like that into different shops. So, you know, we've talked to different furniture stores, high-end furniture stores, and things like that about getting my art in there, or different galleries. Even we were in Vegas recently, and just don't be afraid to ask questions. I just talked to the lady in the gallery. I was like, you know, I asked her about a few of the pieces. I said, these are beautiful. These were the price range that I wanted. That's $7,000. And I said, what's the criteria for getting in? And she's like, you can just pop me an email.
Wow.
Let me see your work, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, people don't realize sometimes it's as easy as that. It's just having a conversation with somebody. But for bigger price point items like that, I realized Instagram, you will get some, but they generally aren't the bigger spenders, especially since I have a younger audience.
Yeah.
But I tailor that, so I still can use the Instagram. So we're in the process of relaunching fine art prints. I'm not sure if you know what those are, but basically like my minimal line drawings. So we sell those as prints, and you can buy them framed or unframed, and it's a much more affordable
casual
thing.
Yeah,
that like if you love an artist and you want their art, you don't have to spend that much money to have it. Like you can still have a little piece, you know? And especially if a piece speaks to you. One of the most rewarding things as an artist is having someone message you and say like, you don't understand how much this piece spoke to me. Like I've just read messages that I didn't intend this for a design, but it just spoke to them on an incredible level, and you're just like, wow, you know, like that's why you do this.
You have no idea at the time when you're creating it, and then you put it out there to the world,
and
and
I was
somebody messages
sitting
you
on my phone watching Netflix and drawing at the same time, and then it actually had a deeper meaning. Like that's incredible.
you
know,
who are the, I know you mentioned audience, who are the people that are, you know, spending the $5,000, $6,000, $7,000? Are these just people that are young entrepreneurs? Like where are these pieces going? Are they inside their houses or?
Yeah, so a lot of people, you know, they'll order them for their houses. What's interesting is I think just because of my personal style, I'll get a lot of followers from Australia. I just love Australian style.
Yeah.
There's good and bad about
But
that.
the aesthetic, I feel like is I've seen a lot of Australians.
I work with a lot of Australian companies because I love that style, you know, and even
Down
now,
under.
Down under, yeah, it's like really cool. But I remember this one piece, it was a larger piece. And it was a young girl, and when I quoted her the price, she was like, okay.
No question. Not even a hesitation.
And I was like, is your mom paying for, like, what's going on? And shipping for that piece was like over $700 for the shipping alone. Yeah. And in my head, I was just like,
oh my God.
Like, she just went for it. But that's what's so cool, especially with social media. I have pieces in Australia and Switzerland and different places around the world that people just realize that they want something. And, you know, they can go for it.
I'm glad you're saying the around the world thing, because I read online, it said, you know, you said when my art started selling around the globe, I realized my art could potentially have a huge impact.
Yeah.
What was that moment when you started getting these like to have your actual art in Australia or Switzerland? Like, what was the moment you finally had one and you realized like you were onto something big?
I don't even know if it was a moment so much, because I don't think I had a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like, wow, I feel like a lot of people don't, if they've been working hard for it, because it's a slow climb and you're slowly getting there, and then you don't really even realize. If I think like on to the next, like keep going type thing, you know? And I think that's a good mindset if you want to grow, but you also do need to take a step back and then realize what you're doing. And I think a big moment for me was when I was redoing my website and looking at all the things that I've done. I was like, damn, I actually did do a lot. And like that one went there, and I remember the story with that. And it's just moments like that where you're reflecting, even something like redoing your website or updating it or anything like that. Those were definitely moments for me when I realized like this could be something, this could do something. And I think art does have the ability to have a strong message, to bring people together, to be more than just something that's pretty or ugly.
Why is that? What is it that makes people, kind of going back to that earlier question of like, how do you want people to feel? Like, why do you think art has that ability?
It's so interesting because it depends on who you're talking to. I've met people on different sides of the spectrum, people that just get art and people that quote unquote don't get art. So like my dad's an engineer, or this is actually a really cute story. One of the people that ended up bidding on a piece, one of my larger pieces at the charity art auction, he's a doctor, and he even he was like the uncle of one of my interns, and he's like, I just don't understand, why is it so expensive? Like why this? And sometimes people just have that mindset where they will look at a piece and it will make them feel a certain way. And the reason that more often than not you'll buy that piece is because you want to have it in your house and remember that feeling or feel that certain way again. And what I found a great motivator for a lot of people is just love in a weird way. A lot of times people will buy something not because they love it, but because it reminds them of someone that they love, or someone that they love wanted it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that has so much power as well. But it depends on the person. Sometimes people love a certain style and they want it. You know, and that's why as an artist, the best you can do is just be yourself. And then, like, whatever people like it, they'll like it. And whatever people don't, they won't, you know?
Yeah, because if you're trying to create something for other people, is that truly your art, you know? Like,
exactly.
It's weird how, I think that's the toughest thing for whether you're an artist, whether you're a podcaster, whether you're a photographer, whether you're a videographer, it doesn't matter. It's like, you really have to just kind of create something that you think is interesting, and somehow, some way, the people find you.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to create for that certain audience, or you're trying to replicate what some other person is doing, you're always going to be second place to that person, because they are the person you're replicating. Exactly.
110%. But even just like to take it a step back and just be, you know, not everyone has the luxury of being there right now. You know, I might have my certain style, or even when I was like editing photos I have a style that I like, but that's not going to pay the bills. So there needs to be, especially when you're still young and growing and learning, you can't just be like, well, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Everyone loved my art. And if no one buys it, well, then you're broke and like not doing anything. And then you can't create a voice for yourself. So it's a lot of learning and giving, you know, and not to shun. It's not bad to have a style, but then also create for a client something that's more of what they like, you know? So it's as hard as that. Feel like that was like yes but no type thing. But like you just kind of got to go for it and work on your own style, but also know it's okay to create other people's vision as well. Being an artist, you are essentially like your own brand, as we've been talking about quite a bit. What have you found to be the best strategies to building Kim Rose Art, to getting that brand bigger? I mean, for every person it's different. For me, definitely social media just happened to be a spot that Instagram is my favorite platform, just because I love editing images. I love images. And if you love images, I think Instagram's your thing, you know, versus if you like videos, then YouTube's probably going to be more your thing. Or like if you like, you know, creating a podcast, these are all just very different channels, and everyone has their own favorite. I loved Instagram, so I spent the most time on there, and that was nice because especially as Instagram grew, I could take polls. I could like directly ask my consumers, what do you want? Like even the other day, I didn't know, but maybe I'll come out with temporary tattoos, because I asked people, and people were just voting off the chain. Yes, I want this, and then I want that design, because a lot of people, they'll get my designs tattooed anyway. That's pretty cool. But sometimes it's cool. So, like, that's crazy. It's really cool, especially the first few ones that you see, and it's just insane to think something that you designed can have that much meaning to somebody, that they actually want it on their body forever. Yeah. I was a little taken aback at first. I was like, wow, that's my crazy. Art on their body. Like, oh my gosh, yeah. So, but you know, that's what's cool, that you can ask your audience what they want if you have an audience, and then if you don't, it's more kind of a reverse engineers type thing, where you create a product, or you create your style, and then people will come to that, you know. And I actually I saw that you weren't you recently interviewed about micro influencers or something like that? Oh yeah. What was that about? That was funny. That was so random, and it's funny because I almost didn't go. Luckily Max told me to go, because I'm not a morning person. It was early in the morning, and I was like, no, I didn't really go. But this one company, I spoke at one of their events before, and she's like, you know, you spoke so well and everyone loved you. We've been asked for this one like TV interview about influencers. So I thought I was going to tell them how to write an Instagram caption. That's what I thought the interview was going to be about. But luckily he asked me business questions, and I was like, well, I know this as well. So I was like, I'll answer whatever you want. Exactly. I was like, I actually know a lot about this, and I've studied it, and I've worked on both ends. I've worked on the brand and on the influencer side, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, but that was a very random, fun thing. You never know. You got to jump on the opportunity when that kind of pops up, you know? Like jump on things like that. The Instagram caption thing, have you found that's a huge growth strategy for people's personal Instagrams? Because I'm sure tons of creatives that are going to listen to this podcast, they're trying to build their own brand as well. Yeah, I think a lot of times people will tell you do this or don't do that. I think once again it goes back to, and as cliche as this, everyone's sick of this word, but authenticity. What is true to you? Because I've seen some people write novels And like I would never read that, but they have so many followers that appreciate that novel that they wrote pretty much as their caption. Other people keep it short, sweet, and simple, and then people love that, you know? So I think it's just whatever is truest to you. If you're a writer and you like writing a lot of stuff, then go for it. There's a lot of different like little things that people will say about Instagram algorithm or things like that. The thing is, the algorithm changes daily. So like if someone says they know everything, they probably don't. I've tested a few things like hashtags. You'll use certain hashtags. You can see what's nice is if someone doesn't have a business account on Facebook, create one so that you can link it to your Instagram. I'm sure you already know that, right? Yeah. So that you can see your statistics and like analytics. It's really cool. It breaks down for you like what came from the explore page. Were you on the explore page? What did your hashtags get you? You know, and sometimes hashtags will help like a little bit, but not still, that much.
But still, right?
It helps like a little bit. And especially if you're getting started, that little bit could be a lot, you know? And so just different things like that. But I think the bottom of it is just be true to yourself and your style. And even if you don't know what it is, like try different things out and see what you like.
I think the authenticity is the most important piece, is just be who you are, tell your truth, like don't be afraid to be and say what you like truly believe in, and let people gravitate towards that.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that they were talking about in the TV article that we saw, or that you saw. He was talking about the dangers of becoming too big and then not being as authentic or true to yourself, because brands will pay you a lot of money to say a certain thing. And it's just like there's this whole debate on, you know, what's true and what's not and stuff like that. So that's why a lot of brands are shifting more towards micro influencers, which is like really cool to see. And I even like, because back at the old company, we did case studies on macro versus micro, and on companies that worked with macro influencers and with micro influencers and who did better, or companies who worked with both. And it was really interesting to see. It honestly just depends on the influencer. Yeah. Some people are very true to themselves, even big.
Yeah. And the ones there are some that you come across, I feel like are way too heavy on the influence, like the branded content. So to me, it's like, oh, here's another branded content. But if it's somebody they respect, then they're going to probably look into that brand more, because they're seeing, I've never seen this person post about a brand. It must be true to them, you know?
Yeah.
It's very, you got to be very strategic with it. I haven't done any branded content yet. There's definitely been some conversations I've had, and that's one thing I've told myself. As the great Gary Vee, my favorite guy, always says, it's like whoever holds their breath the longest wins. So it's like I'm gonna hold my breath long enough, because I'll find a way to make it work. But I'm not gonna put my name next to something else just because it's money. Like that money is very short term. Exactly. I'm trying to go big. I'm trying to play this in the long play, and so it's going back to being authentic.
Since you're dealing with people's trust. If you're constantly selling out, you're gonna lose trust, you're gonna lose validity. And not to say that these are things that I've learned. When I first started on Instagram, I did those dumb like high smile tea, skinny time tea. I was like, oh, you'll give me a whole $5, but it's just like, you know, I did that because I was excited. I was like, oh, I can get stuff, you know. But then I learned as I grew, that's not exactly what you should be doing, and it can also be deceitful. So now, because I still do work with companies, but it's something I have to step back and think, do I actually like this? Would I buy it myself? And then I tell them always, I was like, I need to try it first and then see if I like it.
See if this makes sense.
And as long as you're completely honest, and more often than not, they appreciate it. Yeah. And especially if it's a brand that's confident in what they do. You don't want a brand that's not going to be confident in what they're doing. They'd be like, well, even if you don't like it, we need you to, it's like, no, you know, more often than not, brands are confident. They're like, I actually know you're going to love this. So yeah, go for it. Try it out. Yeah. Like, see what it's
that's
like.
That's how you know. Like that's the brand you want to be working with when they are confident in their own product.
Because beautiful collaborations can come out. I don't want people to look at brand deals and say, oh, that's terrible. Sometimes good things can come out. But like stay true to if you're a person that's like very vegan and non-animal cruelty, you don't want to represent a makeup brand that like tests on animals, you know? Yeah. So you just need to do your research. Yeah. Figure out what you like.
Yeah. I know you had said something about, one struggle that you had or lesson learned from business was like pricing and making sure that people gave you X amount beforehand. Have there been other big like hard lessons for you to learn as an entrepreneur?
I mean, One thing is just be resilient and keep learning. Things are going to go wrong. I remember one time when I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. This is back when flash tattoos were a thing. And I was like, I'm going to create my own flash tattoos and I'm going to design them and everyone's going to love them. And like when you order something custom like that, you know, more often than not, you need a bulk order and it makes sense on a spreadsheet. You're like, I'm going to make money from this. Well, not if they don't sell. And what I didn't know is that was a Coachella fad of that year. And then the next year, everyone was putting rhinestones on their face. And I was like, but what about the flash tattoos? And so to this day, I still have a bunch of like random flash tattoos that I'll just like give when someone orders something. I'll be like, have stickers, have flash tattoos, like just have some. And some people love them, some people don't. But, you know, just know that take chances, take calculated chances. I want to say whatever you do, definitely. And this is something that I'm still doing. Learn from other people's success and failures. So study them, you know, listen to podcasts like this. What's cool is you can listen while you're driving and stuff like that or while you're doing something else. But just constantly learn and then try things out without trying to screw yourself over too much. I think especially in the world we're living in now is you can't get emotionally attached to just one route and thinking like if it's working right now, it's going to be working in 6 months or 12 months from now. It's not. So it's like keep utilizing that strategy or whatever you're doing, like keep doing it, but always be on your toes. And I'm always watching what other creators or people are doing. I'm like, why are they doing this? Try to understand it and then try to honestly take inspiration from what these people are doing and then add it to my own and then kind of create something on my own. But I think it's important to always be watching and once again Gary Vee always says don't listen to what I'm saying, watch what I'm doing and just always watch how other people are kind of are moving. We learn a lot by doing that. A lot of good stuff.
And that's why the podcasts are killing it.
I know. Well, that's like people are saying that's the future, especially with like because I got an Echo Dot and like sound or like Google Play, all these home systems, voice is gonna be, people are saying, the new thing. You know, like there were different waves of different things coming up, like podcasting, voices, things like that are going to be huge, you know, and that's what people are saying. And so I believe it.
I hope so.
You're like,
I'm banking on it. I'm banking on it. Go big with the podcast. I need everybody to start listening to more podcasts. I need it. Moving forward, what would you like to see else happen to Kim Rose Art? What else would you want this to turn into?
Well, definitely. So we're in the process of still growing two separate things right now because I'm doing the Kim Rose Art and then I'm doing the Mission Marisol. So Kim Rose Art, I'm definitely just really trying to push as hard as I can to have creative collaborations. So like to work with different or like have my art in different companies or shops, things like that. Galleries, things like that. Just wherever I can get more traction to the actual art in front of an audience that would actually appreciate it. And an audience that would actually be able to afford it. Because there's a lot of people that can appreciate it, but then might not be able to afford it. And that's okay, you know, but at the same time, I'm not going to get paid if people like it, you know, like that doesn't really pay the bills. So to definitely grow that and then to be growing more my art prints, you know, we're working on that, growing that. Same thing, seeing if we can get that in different shops, marketing for that, stuff like that. And then for the whole Mission Marisol thing, because that whole thing is we're wanting to unite artists from around the world to be able to make a difference. And so, which is a really cool thing when creative minds kind of come together and can collaborate. But just brainstorming bigger and better ideas on what to do next year. And things like that.
So the Mission Marisol, for people that are listening, is you're pretty much taking artists, they're donating art, and you guys are using the money raised to give back to charities, like we were talking about earlier. But talk to me about how important it was to launch this project for you.
So that, I mean, it was one of those things that I had definitely always thought of the idea, and I really, really liked it. The idea being basically to some form or another use art to raise money for kids in Mexico and to be able to use other artists for us to join together. So be whatever form that was. For me, it was having a charity art auction. You know, it's not rocket science. It's something that's been done before, but it's something that's tangible and we can do. And so, you know, I thought about that idea for a while. The moment that it actually went into action, I think you can have an idea, but until you tell somebody else about it, it doesn't really turn into something. But I was late thinking about it. I had talked to it was a company that ended up doing our promo video for us. But she messaged me and she was like, I love your stuff. Let us know if you ever need a video. And I was like, actually, I think yes. Like, I think this might be a good idea. And so my housemate, Evan, came into the room. It was late. It was like 12 or something, and he just worked a long shift, so he was exhausted, but he sat in on the bed, with the dog Morris. And he's like, well, what you up to? And I was like, I actually have this idea. And I told him about it, and he was so excited. We ended up staying till like 3 a.m. talking about it.
Wow.
And he was like, I'm in. Like, I want to be a part of this. Whatever we're doing, like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And so he was the first person that like joined the team. And was like, let's make this into something. And I think in that moment I realized, I was okay, it's not just me, it's another person that wants to do it.
Yeah.
And from then, we realized we have an idea, we need people to be involved. And so we got more people involved. And it's just, I think if it's something that people will realize your intentions if they're good, and ours were, and we were like, we just want to do something, we don't know what we're doing. Our first meeting, we literally sat with our first round of interns in a coffee shop, and we're like, we don't know what we're doing.
Love the
literally
honesty.
Yeah, we were just like, we don't know, but we're gonna learn together, and we're gonna do
We're
this,
gonna figure this out.
And that's something that I think, because I get hyped about it, and then like they got hyped about it, and so that's what was able to carry us to like keep pushing, because things got hard, and like
it's a whole nother business now that you're starting out.
It really is, but it's just one of those things that, especially when something like that, what's unique to that is you're doing it for somebody else. And I think that's been something, because you can forget where I heard this quote, you can only work so hard for yourself if it's all just for you. You're gonna get tired. But if you're working for somebody else, you're thinking, for me it's like the kids, you're thinking about that, you're like, I can keep going. Like, we can keep going. Like, this is still something that we can slowly keep inching forward and stuff. And I think that's something that's good, because like, what inspires anyone to do anything? If it's just going to be your own selfish wants, you're not going to go that far. You might get pretty far, but you're not going to get that far versus if you're doing it for somebody else. And studies have been shown about that. If when you're doing it thinking about somebody else, you do end up working harder.
I think it's important to have a vision for the long play of like what you're already seeing as giving back and helping these kids out, and understanding like that's the goal. But then what's even more important is like the intent and like the why. If you're, like incorporating your art, that's something you love in other artists, and obviously your mother playing a role in inspiring you to want to start this, like all of these things add up. And so then it becomes like they're doing it for the right reasons versus somebody, which is very easy for me to see, as I'm sure somebody like yourself can probably read through. It's like, oh, this is not, there's this facade, there's this picture that they're trying to paint, and I can see right through it that they're actually bullshitting through their mouths. But I think it's very important to be intentional and to do things for the right reasons. But it's always very awesome to hear like the why of why people do
definitely things. And I'm sorry, I like even glazed over specifically because we know the story, but maybe people listening don't know the story. So basically, tying into what we were talking about before, I grew up going to Mexico, things like that, would work with the community, hear their needs, and see how we could help them. And so that's just something that kind of I grew up with. And then obviously I grew up with art as well. And so it was around freshman, sophomore, junior year, I want to say, at college. My mom had been battling with cancer for a long time. And so it was just something that, she was a warrior. She fought through it for 3-4 years even.
Wow.
Yeah. And, after she passed away, I was like, I don't want that to be the end of something, Like you can't just, obviously you're going to have your grieving period and stuff like that, but she inspired me so much. And I was like, how can I take that? How can I further that?
Keep the energy. Take that energy.
Exactly. And I was like, creative people, joining together, like that's how we can do it, And so it obviously it's very far from like thinking of an idea to actually implementing it.
It takes time for something like that.
It takes time. It definitely does. But that's why we named it, we're like, we were thinking early on, and Evan, actually my housemate, thought of the idea because we were thinking, what's the name? What are we going to do? And he's like, your mom has played such a big part in this. He's like, Mission Marisol, like we call it that. And I remember when he said it, we were like, oh, and he was an English and art major, so he just has a way with words. Yeah. And I was like, Evan, stop. And even when we were naming some of the pieces, he's just so good. Some of the pieces that we auctioned off, we like took canvases to Mexico and had the kids like paint on, and then brought it back to my studio and we auctioned them off, which is really cool. But there was one, it was like one of our favorite ones, and it was just like had handprints from like 2 different orphanages and 1 after school program where like kids can go to learn.
Yeah.
And we're thinking like, what should we name it? What should we name it? And he goes, a big quote for us, I stumbled upon this quote. It was like, I'm going to take something along the lines of the wounds of this world and turn them into wildflowers.
Ooh.
You know, and that was something I was like, that's so beautiful. And he's like, we're gonna call this Wildflower. And we were just like, and like
you guys had a moment.
We did. And like what's fun with our whole team, we were lucky enough to have such a team bonding that they were all like, we want to get a matching tattoo. Whatever you design, we're gonna get a matching tattoo. So we got wildflower matching tattoos. I got one too.
Oh,
and it was on my side, and I'm such a wussy for pain. Literally the whole time I was screaming. I felt so bad for the tattoo artist. And it's funny because I was the only one. All of them took it
Everyone
like a
was
champ.
fine?
Yeah, because 2 other girls got it on their side. And when she was like, it's fine, like, it hurts, but I can hold it in. I couldn't. The whole time I was screaming. I was like,
my
oh,
God.
shit. Ow, oh my God. And Evan was holding my hand.
Out.
Yeah. Just like, it was
You got
rough.
this. You got
But we
this.
got that all together. That was a big thing for us as a group. We're like, we're going to turn the wounds of this world into wildflowers. And, you know, obviously every single person had their story that came on the team, but they all resonated with that, you know? And I think that's something, especially if you're trying to start something like a movement, there needs to be like a bigger reasoning behind it.
You got to know where you're working towards.
Where you're working towards, and you need to have something. If people are going to be on your team, for at least what I think, they need to be passionate about what you're doing. Because if someone's going to have, and not saying obviously they all had their own things, some of them were still students, and it's just like it's hard, so they couldn't dedicate as much time, but still the good intentions were there. They knew what our goal was, what we needed to work for, even with like late nights. And I even like roped Max and Rachel into it when like 2 weeks before the event we were like building gallery walls because renting them is like $5,000 and it's just not worth it. So like just get people together, know what we're working for, and then just like go there. The
passion is contagious and it's priceless. So
I think so.
If you can get people to feel that same passion or that same type of energy, then you're going to be able to get a lot done. But if you're trying to pull somebody in and you can just feel that they're not as passionate, which is okay. We're not all supposed to be passionate about the same things. It's like, it's just not the right fit.
Exactly.
Just finding the right people.
And I think us as just human beings, we want to be passionate about something. One of the reasons that Evan, the first guy that jumped on, was so eager to jump on is he was like, I'd been missing something and I wanted to be passionate about something. He was kind of burnt out on his job, and he was like, this gives me, one of the girls, she even said she looks forward. We had Sunday meetings. She's like, it's the highlight of my week, you know?
Awesome.
And it's just like, to be able to create something like that, you just need to be passionate about it.
Yeah.
You know?
How was that event back in November?
It was good,
the
honestly.
charity art auction in LA. How was it?
Yeah, I mean, there was so much that built up to that event, just so much hard work of the team. And what was really cool is like we definitely bit off more than we could chew. We didn't know anything about how to have an event, how to do any of this stuff, how to get donors, how to get sponsors, how to sell tables to get money for this type of thing. And it is an expensive event. And so like it takes money to make money, and I didn't have that money. So how are we going to get that money, you know? And so we all learned a lot. I think our ambition, because our goal was to raise $100,000. We didn't quite hit that. But honestly, we did such an incredible job of learning everything that I think we need to set ourselves up to be more successful the next time, you know? And so it was a beautiful event. It went by way too fast.
Of course.
Like I didn't even get a chance to take
so much
pictures.
time planning, and then it's probably a 4 or 6 hour event like that.
Yeah, it just went like literally like that. And it was just, and even the night of the event, certain things went wrong, but luckily me and the team were able to like fix and not like still things went wrong, but it's okay because it was our first one. You know, we're still working on it, we're still learning, and we're gonna come back and hit it harder.
It's a good working, I mean, you got to learn from an experience like that.
Exactly.
Like to throw an event, I can only imagine the headaches. I mean, I've never done one, but
it was a lot.
It's a
I
lot.
hadn't before that either. So if anyone is an event planner or does anything like that, it's a lot. There's so many moving parts that you just can't even begin to think about, or even like finding our partnering nonprofit, like just so many things that leading up to that event, like we thought was going to be impossible. But we kept, through creativity, thinking of a different problem solving way to be able to tackle that.
Find a way to make it work.
Find a way to make it happen. Yeah, and we did.
Yeah,
it was
you made
incredible.
It work. Year 2,
exactly.
you're gonna be ready to go. You're gonna know the do's, the don'ts, and it's gonna be even bigger.
And we did raise a good amount. It was like around $50,000 for these kids, and just like it's still gonna have such an impact, you
Absolutely.
know. And that was the big thing for us. Like no matter what we raised, I was like, we did the best that we can.
Yeah.
We're just gonna let
That's
whatever
the key.
happens happen.
Doing the best you can.
We did.
That's all
and
that matters.
like heaven knows, the last 2 weeks I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep at all. Evan and I didn't sleep. Most of the team didn't sleep. But, you know, we got it. It was incredible. It really was.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I saw in your Instagram bio, it said spread sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
What's this about?
Yeah. So that's another thing linking back to my mom. So she would call me and my sister like her little sunshine, you know, anything from singing the You Are My Sunshine when we were growing up, things like that.
I think my mother's saying that to me too.
It's just such a cute lullaby. It's just like it gets you, you know, but that's just one thing that she was so happy like all the time. It's just like wherever you go, just like radiate that warmth and that joy, you know, like if I can try and remind myself to do that, you know.
Yeah, I know we talked about minimalism earlier, about kind of your work now. Do you find that you now incorporate minimalism outside of work into your day-to-day life?
Definitely affects my style. And I would say yes, trying to live more minimally. I didn't, you know, when I started doing my line art because I think I had this craving to have something more minimal on my feed because I'm kind of OCD like that. And luckily, it's really weird, like the poet community ended up really loving my work. I did a couple collaborations with some poets, and then even to this day, if I create a design, you know, poets will put their words on it and it'll be like a collaboration type thing. But the poet community loved that, and the engagement was insane on those, and I was like, well, I'm gonna keep doing them. And I just ended up really, really loving it. So that started the whole minimalistic concept of what minimalism to me. And then it's like I have 3 colors maybe in my closet. It's black, white, and tan. And so just like that style is more minimal for me. I really like it.
It clears your headspace.
Oh yeah.
You just like, you're not overthinking.
To not have clutter.
Whether it's like the colors that you wear or the items that you own, when you start to get rid of a lot of that stuff, and I don't think people realize how much it takes up our headspace to have that conversation. Do I want to wear the blue shirt or the pink shirt or the gray shirt today? You eliminate that, and you just can literally grab something.
More on the style.
It's just we spend but not even just style. It's just we spend so much time worrying about the things where we should be spending that energy elsewhere, you know?
Exactly. Well, plus it makes things cleaner too. Like even I cleaned out my room again. I was like, there's this new show on Netflix, and she like makes people's lives a little more minimal. And she's like, does it bring you joy or something like that? I was like, does this bring me joy? Like, do I need this? Do I not? You know? And I think it's a good way to go about things.
Have you seen the minimalism documentary on Netflix?
I haven't.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
I'm serious.
You gotta go watch it.
Well, now I know what I'm gonna do.
You have to go watch it. I had the filmmaker on the podcast before.
Oh, no way.
He's based out here in West LA.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's called Minimalism, a documentary about the important things. You should watch it.
I like that. Definitely will.
Very good. It's very good.
Nice.
Why are you not afraid to fail?
I think to a certain extent, everyone's afraid to fail. It's not that I'm not afraid to fail, because I'm not going to lie, like, especially even leading up to the event, there was a lot of fear of like what's going to happen. You know, will people, it's like a certain point, I think, when you can really own yourself and what you're doing, and like not necessarily don't give a shit about what other people think, but to a certain extent, just like don't give a shit. Unless they're people that actually are meaningful and important in your life. Listen to those people. They care about you. But I think you are afraid, but it's just the ability to be like, I'm going to keep going despite that. And I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to do the best that I possibly. The reason that I felt confident is because I knew we physically worked as hard as we like humanly could. And I was like, I'm going to be proud of this, you know? And so you just kind of have to, even though you're afraid, like, as cliche, like, jump. Like, just go for it.
No, that energy, I think, is what seems probably we can agree on it. It's non-questionable. Like, we're going to go for the things we truly love. We're going to not really worry about what the grand population thinks of us. But I think it's important for people to hear, because at least for me, there was a time in my life where I was afraid to fail, to start this or to just do these things. And it wasn't until I took that first leap and kind of fell on my face and like got back up, that I realized, oh, this is literally just translatable to anything I want to do in the world. So now it's not even a question of failure is not in, it's just what am I going to learn at the end of the day.
Exactly. You take it like, okay, you're going to fail. And then also you're like, it's not that bad. When you're like, so what? Like, who gives a shit? You know? And then you learn from it. And the people that I think are more successful are the people that can actually learn from it. Because I'll listen to like different like NPR people, like how I built this podcast, stuff like that. More often than not, they epically failed once, but they learned from it, you know? And it's just like, you got to keep going from that.
And they also, I feel like a lot of them say, we had no idea what we were doing at the time. We're just figuring it out as we go. And that's what I love hearing the most. Yeah. And they don't have a perfect game plan. They just are going with the flow.
Yeah. You don't say when I do this, you just got to go for it. Yeah. You know, obviously think a little bit about it, but just go for it. Don't think too much about it.
What do you think Kim's purpose is?
Oh, goodness, I never thought of it like that. Sounds so poetic. Max is like I think that even say after I'm gone, to be able to start something that will unite artists to help kids in Mexico, I think that's where my purpose is, you know, to do something like that, because it has an impact way bigger than I ever thought that I could have, you know, and just to keep pushing towards that. And you learn so much from it. Even in this past year, I've learned so much from it. And I think even my character has just grown so much because of it, you know? So I'm excited to see where all of this goes, what happens. Yeah. I don't know.
You don't know. You don't know where, but you're working on it.
We're going. Yeah. We're going there.
It's amazing to see that you found a way to do what you love, and then now on the side find a way to like give back.
Yeah. And even because it's hard, even from a financial, like being totally transparent, I lost a lot from the event. But it's one of those things, like, first, I learned now, you need to take care of yourself first, and then you can take care of others. But I think at the same time, even if you're not doing good, let's be honest, none of us, especially in LA, none of us feel like we're there or we're comfortable yet. Yeah. And like, you need to be okay with the fact that, okay, even if I'm not there, how can I still help others, and what can I learn from that? Be it whatever, because everyone has something that speaks different to them. Yeah. But I think in even in small things, in like a relationship or something like that, it's just like to have that mindset. Yeah,
that the whole taking care of yourself before you can take care of other people is super, super important.
It's hard too.
It is.
It's hard.
But sometimes, and more often than not, you have to be selfish and focus on yourself and invest your time, money, and energy into yourself before you can help other people. And it can be tough, but I think when you do that, you then can help more people down the line because you are operating at your highest potential, or you've figured out your own issues before others.
Exactly. And obviously it's like a case by case type of thing. Like some people take it too far, some don't care about themselves enough, but it just makes sense. If you're not taken care of mentally and physically, how are you supposed to help other people? Yeah. You know, and like to a certain extent, be selfish and take care of yourself. Like,
you have to.
You do.
You're ready to go with that mic.
I'm mad.
I love that. Before I get into the closing questions, this is when I reverse the role. I allow the guest to ask me any one question. It could be about something we talked about today, something you want to know about me. 2 rules. 1, it can't be a question that I already asked you today. And 2, it can't directly be about the podcast.
Dang it.
Any one question.
Oh my gosh. I was going to ask you a question about the podcast.
Well, the only reason I say that is because a lot of times it ends up being the same question that people have to ask. But if you can go for it.
What do people ask? No, while I'm thinking of the question, what do they usually ask?
What's been the biggest lesson you learned? Who's been your favorite guest?
I see what you're saying.
Where do you want this to go? Like, what's the next step? Yeah. So I've only just kind of eliminated that just because I don't want people that are listening to hear the same answers every single time. But
I know this is going to be one that maybe you've been asked a lot of times, but I think it's still interesting to kind of revisit. But what gets you out of bed in the morning? What motivates you to do this or to do anything? Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think anybody's directly asked me in that way. I'm weirdly obsessed with the idea of greatness. I'm weirdly obsessed with it. I want nothing more than to see myself become the greatest version of myself. And that doesn't mean financially. That doesn't mean like Instagram followers, subscribers. It really comes down to mentally, physically, healthy wise, like being the greatest I can be. And then on top of that,
like trying to just create amazing experiences with the people that I love the most or the people I'm surrounded by. But I don't know, it's just like this idea of greatness, and I get so, especially when I'm like listening to interviews or I just see people that are just super successful, but they're doing it for the right reasons and they love what they do. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I think the world, we're all like these human beings and we're just living our life, but there is this certain population of people that really find what they are supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And it's not a big population, but it's a small population that makes the difference in the world. Mm-hmm. They're the creators of this microphone or this neon sign, or they were people that thought outside the box, you know, like Elon Musk, perfect living example right now. He's killing it on the ground with Tesla. Yeah. He's killing it in the air with SpaceX. He's building tunnels underneath LA. Like, he's at a point in his career, he has enough money. He doesn't have to work another day in his life, but he's doing it because he is obsessed with his own greatness of wanting to push the boundaries of humans. And I don't know. That to me is the obsession every morning. Like, I I get up usually at 6 a.m. every morning. That's when the alarm goes off. Good for you. And I'm like a morning person. So I like doing a lot of my creative stuff in the morning because people aren't texting me, phone calls, nobody's bothering me. Yeah. So it's like I go to the gym first thing every morning. It's like the first 2 hours of my day where I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not checking social media. I'm just listening to music and I'm just getting in the zone so that by the time I actually start working for the day, I've been up. But I kid you not, it's like I wake up and then within 15, 20 minutes, I feel like I've already had a shot of espresso, even though I've never had it or I don't drink it. But it's because I'm just motivated. Like I just I'm obsessed with it. And so that's what gets me up and out of bed every morning is these little wins every day, like getting to connect with people like you who like genuinely love what they do. They're trying to do something that's bigger than themselves. And just seeing my own little progress in my own life and seeing like these ideas come to life. Just seeing this come to life to where it is today. Still remembering, as I was talking about earlier, just that kid who was graduating college, not knowing what he wanted to do and just having that idea of like, this could be kind of cool. Yeah. And 2.5 years later to now be where I'm at and still so young in the game. And I'm not the biggest podcast in the world. I'm running out of a bedroom studio.
As you gotta.
Well, you just make it work, right?
You gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do what you gotta do. And so, I'm just obsessed with greatness. And I just want to see myself get to my highest potential. And the last thing I want to do is look back and have regret. And so wherever the world takes me from there, I'll run with it.
That's a big one. Yeah. Nice.
Greatness.
Yeah.
Good question. Very good question.
That. You should like have a poster on your ceiling that says greatness.
I should have it so one of my eyes open.
So when you wake up, it's like greatness.
Greatness. That might be
You're like, it physically gets me out of bed in the morning.
Put it on my car, tat it on my wrist. Might be a little obsessive, but I like
giant letters everywhere.
Everywhere. I like the idea of it.
Slightly insane, but great.
It's okay.
Know?
But great.
The best people are. I think a little insane.
They are a little insane. Closing questions for you.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on social media and everything that you're up to?
Yeah, definitely. So my website is simple, just kimroseart.com. And that pretty much takes you anywhere. It has my shop. It has links to my social media. My Instagram is at kim.rose.art. That's where I am most active. So you can see me on day to day. Trying to pick up more on YouTube and stuff like that. Same thing.
I saw the YouTube content. Very beautiful.
Yeah.
It looks very good.
It's funny because I look back and I cringe.
Yeah. I think we all cringe with our own work.
I think we do. Yeah. And it's just like a learning thing. You got to do it. You got to keep going. You got to learn from it and stuff like that. But definitely though, the best spot to check out is the kimroseart.com. And then also missionmarisol.com. You can see, and it's Mission, just MISSION, Marisol, MARISOL, Spanish name. And so, that website, it has some clips from the event, some snapshots. It was an incredible gala event. So pictures of that, information about the kids, how people can help. If you're an artist or creative that wants to contribute in some way, because we didn't just have physical artists, we had musicians that donated their time. We had like Spanish dancers, which was super cool. So just anyone that wants to be able to help in some kind of a way, you can contact me through there. Everything's
And
okay.
I'll have it all linked up. People are going to be able to find your stuff. And make sure, if people are listening, go drop a bunch of bearded man emojis on her Instagram so she knows that you're coming from the podcast. But before I ask the final question, I want to thank you for coming in today and sharing your story. You know, this is definitely something that I haven't really covered too much. Definitely more of like, I deal with like a lot of the artists, the musical artists on this podcast. I got a lot of music industry. But LA, all right. But seeing like what, as I was kind of talking about before we started this podcast, just seeing what you were up to, and seeing how you've been able to find a way to give back. Like you were really a great example of what this podcast is all about. So I appreciate you taking the time to open up and share your story and be part of this project, because you're only helping me build what I want to build, and you're only helping the people that are listening that are getting inspired, learning, or, you know, maybe they're in a small town where they don't have creative people to talk to and have these conversations. That to me is like the greatest thing, when I get feedback from people that are like just listening to these conversations. Fire me. Like, I'm not even somebody that wants to be an artist, but it inspired me, or I learned something. So, so thank you for coming in today and sharing the story.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. It was so fun.
I love it. I love it. Last question for you. For somebody that's listening, hasn't found that passion, hasn't found that purpose out just yet, what's the best 2 to 3 pieces of advice you'd give to them?
Goodness, 2 to 3. I'm just gonna like say it. I don't know if it's gonna add up to 2 or 3. And like, don't put pressure on yourself, I think, is a big one. I think a lot of times, especially with social media, people will compare. People will be like, well, this 12-year-old knows exactly what they want in life. And it's just like, I think there's good and there's bad comparisons. When you start to compare and look at yourself in a negative way, that's a big no-no. And it's obviously easier said than done. But try to surround yourself with people that love and support you, that care about what you do. And then not everyone stumbles across their passion right away. I've heard stories of people on NPR that didn't get it till they were 40. Not saying that you have to wait till then, but don't put pressure. Surround yourself with people that care about you, and just explore, be forever curious. The reason I found out about my favorite medium of art is because I was just scrolling on Instagram and saw someone else do it, you know? And I think if you're just constantly exploring and then trying new things, you will find something that clicks, and you will find something that you really like. But just don't be afraid to try something and have it fail. Even if that means taking a job that you don't know if you're going to like or not. And then you might hate it, but at least you learn something from it, you know? So just keep trying different things. And sometimes it can be hard, especially if, you know, at our age, people expect us to figure it out, but just keep going.
Kim Rose, thank you for coming in today.
What's up? Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. We'll catch you guys next time. See ya.